Chapter 1. The next day, after finishing breakfast, I was about to go meet a client when my girlfriend, Margarita, stormed back home in a rage. The moment she got home, she threw her luggage onto the floor. I just got back from a business trip. Fine, you didn't come pick me up, but now you're leaving without saying a single word. I looked at her, not understanding what she was so angry about, and continued putting on my shoes. Margarita impatiently tossed her coat into my hands. I ate hot pot yesterday, and now my coat reeks of it. Go wash it for me. As she spoke, she yawned. I'm going to catch up on some sleep now. I didn't even put on a face mask yesterday, and now my skin's all dry. After saying that, she kicked off her shoes and walked inside, casually leaving them scattered on the floor. I quietly looked at Margarita, casually placed her coat on the sofa, then turned to leave. I'm going out now. I don't have time. Wash it yourself. But her face darkened, and she snapped irritably. Kevin, are you insane? Do you know how expensive this coat is? I was speechless. If it's that expensive, why did you wear it to eat hot pot with Duncan? I merely put it on the sofa. Yet she started scolding me, but at that moment, I was too tired to argue with her. Just as I was about to open the door, Margarita grabbed my arm. Where are you rushing off to right now? It was snowing so heavily yesterday, and I asked you to pick me up, but you kept dragging your feet. If Duncan hadn't happened to be at the train station then, I would have frozen to death outside. Is my safety completely worthless in your eyes? Hearing that, I only found it ironic. Yesterday, there had been a blizzard. As soon as she told me what time her train would arrive, I left home early. I had clearly arrived half an hour in advance, but she had remembered the wrong exit, and now she was blaming me for not picking her up. I ignored her and searched for my car keys on the shoe cabinet. Margarita frowned in dissatisfaction. Then, as if suddenly thinking of something, she laughed disdainfully. Don't tell me you're still jealous. Haven't I already told you so many times? Duncan just likes documenting his life. You made such a huge fuss over nothing that he felt awkward yesterday. Can't you even tolerate someone else's little hobby? I laughed mockingly at myself. I liked playing pool. In the past, I often went to the pool hall with a few buddies to relax and have fun, but Margarita didn't like it. She thought that if I went out to have fun at night, it meant I didn't love her, so she forbade me from going. Over time, those buddies of mine knew I was strictly controlled at home, so they stopped inviting me, and now, she was telling me to be considerate of someone else's interests. She defended Duncan's hobby in every possible way, while my own hobby had been personally erased by her. I was too lazy to deal with her any longer. Finally, I found my car keys under her bag. I'm going out to meet a client. I really don't have time to wash your clothes. Margarita looked at me in disbelief. If it had been the usual me, I definitely wouldn't have been this calm while jealous. Either I would have made a huge scene and forbidden her from seeing Duncan, or I would have cried and begged her to stay with me. Never had I been like this. After a long silence, Margarita suddenly threw her coat into the washing machine. Then she stood up and said, "Fine, a grown man. Yet you're still so petty. I'm washing it myself now. You've got no complaints, right?" She looked at me with a proud, spoiled expression, as if she believed that as long as she lowered her head even slightly, I should immediately worship her like a queen. I wordlessly moved aside to make room for her. As soon as she came over, even the entryway felt cramped. In the past, no matter how fiercely we argued, she had never once taken the initiative to back down. Now that she was acting like this, she was probably feeling guilty. Judging by the look of it, she and Duncan must have done more than just eat hot pot. Margarita looked at me unhappily. Are you avoiding me? I didn't want to argue with her, so I casually brushed her off. No. Margarita had just been about to lose her temper when I shut the door a second before she could and walked out. I headed to the underground garage and walked over to the car. In the rearview mirror, I saw that Margarita had followed me out as well. For some reason, she came over and grabbed me. "Kevin, where are you meeting your client?" I answered casually. "C-City." Margarita let out a sigh of relief and said, "Perfect. I need to go to that mall to buy a bracelet. I'll go with you. When you're done, I can even go shopping with you while we're there." I looked at her in confusion. If this had been before, she would absolutely never have hitched a ride to the mall while I was working, because she would complain that waiting for me took too long. Besides, whenever she went shopping, she would never ask me to accompany her, because she thought my taste was terrible, hopelessly tacky. I wanted to refuse, but Margarita opened the front passenger door first and got in. Left with no choice, I started the car and drove to the mall with her. Chapter 2. Today was the weekend, and the road was unusually crowded with cars. I stopped at a red light. Margarita seemed bored sitting there, so she took out her lipstick to touch up her makeup. As she pulled out the lipstick, a slip of paper fell out of her bag along with it. I glanced at it casually and saw a few crooked, handwritten words. Unconditional wish fulfillment card. Signed, Duncan. I remembered that Margarita loved this bag. She had spent an entire month's salary and asked a friend to bring it back from abroad. Normally, she treasured it so much that she wouldn't even let me touch it. Yet now, something that could practically be thrown away as trash had appeared inside it. I knew that if I asked about it now, she would just scold me. So this time I chose to play blind and pretend I hadn't seen anything. But Margarita wasn't satisfied. She snorted and tossed the lipstick back into her bag, along with that pitiful little note. Then she demanded, "You saw it, didn't you? Why didn't you ask?" I said calmly, "Didn't feel like it." Her expression darkened. She looked at me several times before taking out the note again, crumpling it up, and throwing it into the trash. "That was from a game we played last night with another friend. Duncan lost, so he had to write it. There's nothing going on between us. Don't overthink it," I replied casually. I wasn't overthinking it to begin with. Then I continued focusing on driving, thinking the matter was over. But Margarita spoke again, trying to explain. "Yesterday, Duncan just happened to be going to the train station to pick up a friend. He saw me and gave me a ride. We're just normal co-workers and friends." I found it ridiculous. Saying co-workers would have been enough. Why add friends on top of that? Wasn't that just emphasizing how close they were? I nodded perfunctorily. I didn't misunderstand. "You're really just normal friends." I didn't believe her explanation. I knew that every time Margarita made excuses in the past, there was always some friend involved. But every time I saw Duncan's videos, she was always the only one in them. For some reason, Margarita suddenly got angry again. "Kevin, how long are you going to stay mad? I've already explained everything. What more do you want from me?" Fortunately, we had already arrived at the mall, and I got out of the car with a sense of relief. But she clung to me like glue, impossible to shake off. I still remembered how, during past arguments, she would say that just seeing me annoyed her and tell me to get out of her sight immediately. Whenever I tried to explain, Margarita would start scolding me for being petty and narrow-minded, always accusing me of being jealous of Duncan. Now that I wanted to leave on my own, she wouldn't let me. What a strange woman. I had work to do, so naturally Margarita couldn't follow me. She went off shopping on her own. After meeting the client, I remembered the message my boss had sent yesterday. I opened the chat and accepted the promotion offer. I had originally planned to turn down this promotion, which required relocating to South City, for my girlfriend's sake. But after what happened last night, braving a blizzard to pick her up, only to find out she had gone to another man's place, I finally woke up. I had been unbelievably foolish. Pulling my coat tighter around me, I walked out of the mall to get some fresh air. Standing under a tree, watching my breath turn into white mist, I received a call from my parents. On the other end, they had seen the extreme low temperatures where I was and told me to dress warmly. A wave of bitterness rose in my chest. I told them that I was about to get promoted and transferred to the south, assuring them not to worry. My parents were delighted and gave me a few more reminders before I hung up after sharing the good news. Since I hadn't responded to my boss in time earlier, the branch office was now urging me. After confirming my start date for the new position, I immediately booked a flight to the south. Chapter 3. When I returned to the parking lot, I saw Margarita already standing by the car, waiting for me. I took out the keys and unlocked the door. From start to finish, neither of us said a single word. After I drove her home and dropped her off downstairs, Margarita went straight upstairs without even waiting for me. I didn't care. But just as I got out of the car, I received a call from Margarita's mother. "Kevin, I heard you and Margarita had an argument. She just got back from a business trip and is already exhausted. As a man, you should give in a little and be more understanding." Once I confirmed it was her, I immediately understood. Margarita had complained to her mother, clearly trying to put me in my place. In the past, if something like this reached her mother, I would have rushed to apologize to Margarita and begged for her forgiveness. But this time, it didn't matter anymore. She could do whatever she wanted. It had nothing to do with me. I gave her mother a brief explanation and hung up. Numb, I went upstairs. The moment I opened the door, I saw Margarita all dressed up, about to go out. She had even sprayed on her most expensive perfume. I knew it. She was going to see Duncan again. After all, that perfume was so expensive that she usually couldn't even bear to use it, keeping it on the shelf like a display piece. "I'm going to meet Duncan tonight to discuss work. I'll come back whenever you finish organizing my suitcase." I knew she was provoking me on purpose. In the past, I would have definitely gotten jealous and stopped her from going out. But now, I had no desire to argue anymore. I didn't even lift my eyelids, letting Margarita leave as she pleased. Chapter 4. After finishing packing, I lay on the bed, planning to leave early the next morning. That night, while scrolling on my phone, I happened to open my WeChat feed and unexpectedly saw Margarita's post at the very top. There was only a photo of a cafe, but in the reflection on the glass, I could see two people. It was Margarita and Duncan. I was about to scroll past it, but accidentally tapped like, then quickly removed it. At that moment, Margarita suddenly called, "Kevin, what's your problem? Why did you like my post and then unlike it? I'm almost done here. When are you coming to pick me up?" I didn't respond. In the past, whenever I saw that her post had a tagged location, I would have rushed over immediately to pick her up. And back then, Margarita and her friends would point at me and scold me. They said I was too possessive, that being in a relationship didn't mean taking away the other person's freedom, accusing me of being overly controlling. This time, I didn't go to bother her, yet she was asking me when I'd come to pick her up. I stayed silent for a long time. It wasn't until Margarita reminded me again from the other end of the call that I realized I hadn't answered. Doesn't Duncan have a car? His little ride can just as easily escort Her Royal Highness back. You're an independent adult woman. I shouldn't interfere with your vibrant nightlife. You can stay out as late as you like. There was no response for a while. I assumed she had forgotten to hang up, so I ended the call myself. The next second, she sent me a voice message, her tone full of disdain. Kevin, and you still say you're not jealous? The person sitting next to me in that photo was actually my best friend. Duncan was sitting on the other side, so you couldn't see him. Then she sent another short voice message. If it bothers you, I can tell you everywhere I go from now on. I couldn't be bothered to reply. I turned off my phone and was about to sleep when several more notification sounds rang out. Margarita's tone sounded a bit anxious. Do you expect me to stop even discussing work? Do I have to not say a single word to Duncan at the company before you'll calm down? She was making so much noise that I couldn't sleep, so I casually sent a few words to brush her off. No need. I trust you. My eyelids grew heavy. Outside, the thick snow weighed down the branches, snapping them as they fell to the ground. Under the pale moonlight, I drifted into a deep sleep. In the middle of the night, I felt someone wrap their arms around me under the covers, pretending to be asleep. I turned over and moved away from her. Margarita complained unhappily. Why are you moving around? I'm cold. In the past, I would have held her close, pulling her into my arms, worried about her. But now, all I wanted was to sleep peacefully. I gently removed her hand and said, I can't sleep if you're holding me. Margarita suddenly sat up and kicked me, her tone sharp. Then go sleep with the air. With that, she walked barefoot to the sofa and lay down, not even covering herself with anything. Margarita must have thought I would carry her back to the room like before, coax her, and tell her to dress warmly so she wouldn't catch a cold. But instead, I only glanced at her, then turned over and went right back to sleep. Chapter 5. When I woke up the next day, Margarita was already gone. On the floor were the clothes she had changed out of, tossed there in a messy heap. I knew she was venting her frustration. In the past, I would have cleaned everything up bit by bit. But this time, I didn't bother. I was leaving for the airport this afternoon, and I still had to go to the company in the morning to handle some procedures. Thinking about how I used to have to report to Margarita no matter where I went on weekends, it now felt incredibly freeing to just go out whenever I wanted. I left my luggage at the security office. Since the company wasn't far, I decided to walk. Step by step, I walked through the snow, watching as my footprints carved out a narrow path in the white ground. An unexpected sense of calm settled over me. Soon, I arrived at the company building. By coincidence, I saw Augustina, a girl who had been in my high school class, filling out onboarding paperwork. We hadn't seen each other for years, so we casually exchanged a few greetings. Then, as if she suddenly remembered something, she excitedly took out her phone and said she wanted to add me. She mentioned there would be a class reunion at the end of the year. Then she opened the QR code scanner. I gladly agreed and was about to take out my phone when my hand was suddenly pushed back. Out of nowhere, Margarita appeared, immediately linking her arm with mine, gripping tighter than usual. Under my stunned gaze, she looked at Augustina with hostility and said, "Didn't your parents ever teach you basic decency? Flirting with someone else's boyfriend?" Augustina looked at me awkwardly. I simply took her phone and scanned my contact QR code. When Margarita saw that, she angrily pinched my arm, looking like she might throw a tantrum any second. At that moment, Duncan walked over, separating us and stepping in between. I felt a bit grateful that he had saved my arm. All right. I finally managed to calm Margarita down with a lot of coaxing. Kevin, so just go along with her a little. And to be blunt, you already have a girlfriend. Adding another girl on social media, are you trying to do something inappropriate? It had been manageable before, but after hearing Duncan's words, the sparks in Margarita's eyes could no longer be contained. All right, I take back my gratitude. Unexpectedly, Duncan kept fanning the flames. I know this is all my fault for making Kevin misunderstand, but there's really nothing going on between me and Margarita. If it bothers you, I'll just leave. In the past, Margarita and I had argued countless times because of things Duncan said. The reason was simple: Margarita always believed Duncan and defended him, then turned around to blame me. Every time, I couldn't say anything and just bottled up my frustration. But this time, my heart was strangely calm. Watching Duncan's troubled expression felt like watching a cheap performance. Augustina didn't know what had happened between us, but seeing Margarita so furious that she looked ready to fight me, she quickly stepped in to mediate. All right. Kevin is about to get promoted and transferred to South City. You two might not even see each other again in the future. You should cherish each other while you still can. Margarita, however, looked like she had just heard something unbelievable and froze on the spot. Chapter 6. Margarita walked up to me, her voice trembling. I'm your girlfriend. Why am I the last one to know that you're going to South City? I replied indifferently. I only made the decision not long ago. Duncan cut in. Kevin, you're a grown man. Yet you came up with something like this just to avoid admitting fault. That's a bit unreasonable, don't you think? Margarita nodded, seemingly convinced by Duncan's explanation. I didn't really care what they thought, so I didn't bother arguing. Holding the documents I was about to submit, I turned and prepared to leave, but Margarita grabbed me. I'll cook your favorite dishes at home tonight. Come back early. I frowned, finding it strange. Margarita was actually offering to cook. In the past, I was always the one who cooked. She never stepped into the kitchen, saying the oil fumes would damage her skin. Sometimes, when I prepared everything and hoped she'd come home early, Margarita would always brush me off. And now she was asking me to come back early. I responded casually. Oh, not giving her a chance to keep bothering me. I turned and went upstairs. As I stepped out of the elevator, I happened to run into my boss. President Castro had always appreciated me. Kevin, I thought you were going to give up this opportunity. You're a rare talent, you know. I scratched my head a little awkwardly. I have to thank you for your guidance, President Castro. He praised me a few more times before leaving, and I expressed my gratitude repeatedly. Luckily, I hadn't given up this opportunity because of Margarita. Ruining my future for someone like her would have been completely not worth it. After submitting the documents, I walked back to the security office. When I looked up, I could just see the kitchen window of my apartment. I saw Margarita moving around busily inside the kitchen. She was completely immersed in her own world, not even noticing that my luggage was gone. Looking at her somewhat cheerful figure from behind, I shook my head helplessly. Unfortunately, it was too late. My heart was already gone. I took out my phone and called a taxi to the airport. Chapter 7. It had already been 2 hours since I got off work. Normally, I would have been home by now, waiting for Margarita to return, but instead, I was sitting at the airport, checking the hotel I would stay in after landing. At that moment, I received a message from her on WeChat. I opened it and held the phone to my ear. Why aren't you back yet? It felt a little strange. I could sense a hint of expectation and concern in her voice. Shouldn't she be yelling, Kevin, why aren't you home yet? I remembered that once, not long after we started dating, I went out drinking with my buddies. I had barely sat down when she started urging me to go home quickly. I had no choice but to explain to them, and after that, they all assumed I couldn't come out anymore. So gradually, no one invited me again. Then, on the other hand, there was a time when she went out singing all night with her friends. When I simply asked about it, she accused me of being unreasonable. Her close friends all thought I was annoying too and didn't like me. Margarita had always been selfish. She only ever considered things from her own perspective. I couldn't believe it had taken me this long to realize it. I typed back numbly, I'm already on the plane. The next second, Margarita called anxiously. The plane was about to take off, so I hung up immediately. She could only vent her anxiety through messages. Kevin, where are you? I'll come find you right now. Can you stop this? Being jealous isn't supposed to be like this. It was just an argument. You don't have to make everything so serious. Come back now. Okay, I promise I won't have any contact with Duncan anymore. Watching the messages pour in one after another, I let out a long sigh and turned off my phone. I would never believe her words again. How many times had we fought endlessly because of Duncan? If she had realized her own problems earlier, we wouldn't have ended up like this. Sitting on the plane, I recalled all the moments I had shared with my girlfriend. The shy hand-holding when we first got together, the joy of going hiking and skiing together, and later, me preparing everything alone at home, waiting for her, while she said she was going to see Duncan. We had planned to travel together to watch the sunset, but it was postponed because Duncan got sick. I was truly exhausted. I put down my phone and turned to look out the window as the city grew smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing behind the clouds. The past was like drifting smoke. At this moment, it was time to put a full stop to this relationship. Chapter 8. I slept on the plane, and the several-hour journey passed in a blur of dreams. In a strange city, at a strange destination, I drifted along with the crowd to the baggage claim area. Only after finding my luggage did I remember to turn on my phone. There were more than a dozen messages, without exception, all from Margarita. I didn't feel like reading them. I scrolled straight to the bottom and saw the latest one. Why is all your luggage gone? Kevin, how could you just leave me behind and sneak off alone? I didn't know what to reply. Indifferently, I turned off my phone. Just then, someone from the company came to pick me up. Manager Kevin, President Castro has already arranged your accommodation. I was a bit surprised. I had thought I would be all alone here. but I didn't expect President Castro to be so considerate. As I listened to my colleague enthusiastically introducing the local customs, I was reminded of the time I had been lost alone at North City Airport years ago. Margarita, I can't find where to pick up my luggage. Her voice over the phone had been impatient. I'm working. Okay, can't you just read the signs yourself? At that moment, Duncan called out to her, and she immediately hung up. I had stood there at the airport, unsure of what to do. It was my first time there, and in the end, it was a kind woman who helped guide me to the baggage claim. I stopped reminiscing and returned to the present. Fortunately, everything was already in the past. Manager Kevin, do you know anyone in this city? The person who came to pick me up was named Cody, a young guy in his early 20s. He was also a capable member of our department. It was said that he could handle almost everything in the team by himself. I shook my head. I was originally from West City. I had moved to North City for Margarita, and this was my first time in South City. The strong regional differences made me feel a bit physically uncomfortable, but Cody seemed to think I was feeling down because I had no friends. Seeing that, he patted my back. It's all right, Manager Kevin. The company dorm is full of single guys. We can go out for drinks together sometime. I nodded. I had never imagined what it would be like to go out drinking at night with a group of guys. Maybe just a few drinks, some simple dishes, and that would be enough to make for a happy evening. I smiled and said, sounds good. Cody took me to the company-arranged apartment, a one-bedroom, one living room unit with a kitchen and bathroom. A standard single apartment. Though small in size, it felt warm and cozy. By the time I finished unpacking, it was already 3 in the morning. I lay on the bed, resting with my eyes closed, when a phone call came in. I picked up my phone. It was an unfamiliar number from North City. I could roughly guess who it was. Without hesitation, I answered. The first thing I heard was Duncan's urgent scolding. Kevin, what's wrong with you? Is it fun to lie to Margarita like this? You left her, a girl, alone in the freezing snow. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is? She fell while looking for you in the snow and even hurt her hand. Then, from the other end of the call, I heard the sound of a girl crying. It was Margarita. I said coldly, I told you, I've been transferred. You. Duncan was about to say something more when Margarita snatched the phone from him. Her voice was filled with grievance. Kevin, this time, are you serious? Yes. After this call, I'll block you on everything, WeChat, phone, all of it. From now on, we're strangers. Let's break up. I didn't give her any time or chance to argue. The moment I finished speaking, I hung up. Drowsiness washed over me, and I fell into a long dream. In the dream, I had never met Margarita. After graduating, I stayed in my hometown and found a job I truly liked, waking early and sleeping late every day, yet living freely and at ease. Perhaps that was the kind of life I had always longed for. From this moment on, my world would no longer have anything to do with Margarita. Chapter 9. I deleted all the posts that had anything to do with Margarita and made a new one. It was a group photo of our entire department, with the caption, met new friends at a new company, feeling great. Many friends liked and congratulated me, and I felt a sense of happiness I had never experienced before. Over the next few months, I worked hard. Whenever I had time, I explored the surrounding areas, and soon I became thoroughly familiar with this one strange city. Seeing that my job was stable, my parents paid to buy me a small home here so I could settle down. I couldn't refuse, so whenever I had spare money, I sent it back to them. After having my own place, I adopted a cat and a dog. The cat was a stray from the neighborhood, and the dog was a little yellow rescue I had adopted. We became a new family, keeping each other company whenever loneliness crept in. Before long, I got used to living alone here, living without Margarita. But one day, I noticed that one of my posts had been liked by an unfamiliar account. The like disappeared almost immediately, as if the person felt guilty. I knew right away, it was a burner account Margarita had created. In the past, she often made alternate accounts just to keep tabs on me, to see what I was doing. This time was no different, just with a different purpose. But since I had already let go, there was no need to hold on to anything anymore. Relying on memory, I searched for that account, but as if the other side knew exactly what I was about to do, a message came through immediately. Please, don't delete me. Okay. Chapter 10. Even though Margarita pleaded with me in a low voice, I still decided to delete her. As I did, I thought numbly, if she had always respected our relationship, would we still be together now? But from the very beginning, it had been destined that she would be the one cherished in the relationship. After all, I was the one who fell for her first. 2 days later, I received an invitation from Augustina for a class reunion in North City. I happened to have a business trip to the main company in North City, so I gladly accepted. The next day, I arrived in North City. It felt like just yesterday that I had been standing on this very land. By coincidence, I saw Duncan and Margarita at the airport. Duncan looked worried as he helped Margarita out of the car. Even though she didn't seem injured at all, They really got together quickly. I picked up my luggage and was about to leave, but Margarita spotted me. Kevin. She shook off Duncan and ran toward me with excitement on her face. Seeing that I didn't respond, she continued on her own. Kevin, you're back. I knew what you said before was just out of anger. Were you on a business trip these past couple of days? I felt a bit speechless. Hadn't I already made things clear to her? I replied coldly. You're overthinking it. I tried to walk past her toward the subway, but at that moment, Duncan parked the car and hurried over. He spoke in that same annoying tone. Kevin, how could you hurt such a wonderful girl like Margarita? Not wanting to deal with him anymore, my tone turned sharp. Haven't we already broken up? If you like her, then go after her. With that, I walked away without another word. I went to the company first to finish my work, and the next day I attended the class reunion. They were all old classmates I hadn't seen in years. Everyone had gone to different universities and now lived completely different lives. Some of them even had children already. Thankfully, that topic passed quickly. Otherwise, I couldn't imagine how much discussion a 27-year-old single man like me would become. After the gathering, I returned to the hotel. At the entrance, I saw Margarita and her mother. I felt a bit annoyed. I didn't want to keep explaining the fact that we had broken up. Her mother spoke first. Kevin, I heard from Margarita that you two broke up. I nodded perfunctorily. Yes, we did. But Auntie, it's better not to interfere too much in young people's relationships. After all, no one can guarantee they'll last forever. Seeing that even bringing her mother hadn't changed my mind, Margarita anxiously pleaded. No, Kevin, just this once, please trust me one last time. I really won't have anything to do with Duncan anymore. I let out a faint, dismissive laugh. I won't give you another chance. Goodbye. I didn't dwell on it any longer. In a few days, it would be Cody's birthday. We had agreed to celebrate together, so I packed up and prepared to return to South City. After landing, Cody came to pick me up right on time. If it had been Margarita, she probably would have made me wait an hour, or simply not shown up at all, leaving me to take a taxi back. Manager Kevin, you must be tired from the business trip. Let me take you home so you can get some rest. Cody said this as he helped me carry my luggage. I nodded, and before long, we arrived home. After seeing Cody off, I washed up quickly. The exhaustion from the journey soon pulled me into a deep sleep. Chapter 11. Soon, it was Cody's birthday. We spent the whole night singing at a KTV, drinking beer, and talking about life. Manager Kevin, I heard you worked in North City for several years. Did you have a girlfriend there? I nodded. There was nothing to hide about that. Cody, already tipsy, pressed on. Then, where is your girlfriend now? Is she still in North City? I shook my head lightly. We broke up. As soon as I said that, the entire room fell silent, with only the background music echoing in the private room. Cody awkwardly apologized. Sorry, Manager Kevin. I shrugged casually. It's fine. It's long in the past. Don't worry about it. After all, in the past, there was no way I would have been out this late enjoying myself. Now, I was free. After several rounds of drinks, everyone was drunk. Only the two who had driven stayed relatively sober to help clean up. Elian, a warm-hearted colleague, carried both Cody and me out of the room almost by himself. As soon as we stepped outside, the cold wind hit my face, sobering me up a bit. I looked up and saw Margarita. She stepped forward and blocked our way. Elian looked confused. Miss, you are. I'm Kevin's girlfriend. I gave a helpless smile. Seeing the awkward expressions on Cody and Elian's faces, I didn't quite know what to say, but I still clarified. I'm single. I had thought Margarita would start arguing loudly like before, but this time, she didn't. She didn't even frown. Instead, she looked at me with a pitiful, almost tearful expression, acting delicate and vulnerable. Margarita grabbed onto my clothes. I tried to shake her off lightly, but she refused to let go. With no other choice, I spoke to her as if she were nothing more than an ordinary acquaintance. You're in South City for a business trip? Cody and Elian, reading the situation well, quickly left, leaving me alone to deal with this, and to call a taxi at midnight. I took out my phone and tried to find a driver. Margarita looked like she was about to cry. You don't even ask me anymore what time my flight was, how much luggage I brought, why I'm dressed so lightly, whether I'm cold. You used to care about me so much, asking about everything, preparing everything thoughtfully for me. How can you just change like that? I smiled. That's not how you treat a friend. But thinking about it, those were indeed things I used to say all the time. No wonder Margarita couldn't accept it now. She continued. Why did you even delete my last account? I just wanted to see how you were doing. Duncan would mind, wouldn't he? I had meant it as a way to comfort her, but instead, she started crying even harder. I've already cut off contact with Duncan. I even deleted him on WeChat and transferred to a different department on my own. Kevin, I'm begging you, please come back. Okay. Chapter 12. The early spring wind was still a bit biting. I tightened my coat around myself. Seeing that I couldn't get a ride through my phone, I waved down a taxi directly. Margarita was still stubbornly holding onto my sleeve, so I had no choice but to let her get into the taxi as well. Even though we were no longer a couple, I couldn't just leave a girl I knew alone on the street late at night. I told the driver to take her home first. Margarita, where are you staying? Her expression darkened again. Peace Hotel. Then she added softly, you're sending me back already? I sighed, planning to make things clear after we got out of the car. When we arrived at the hotel, Margarita got out reluctantly. When she saw that I got out as well, her eyes lit up. I avoided her gaze and stood a bit farther away from her. You never used to stand this far away from me, Kevin. Tell me, what did I do wrong? I can change. As she tried to come forward to hug me, I stepped back again. She immediately broke down into sobs. I continued with the words I had already prepared, simply recounting memories without any extra emotion. Do you remember the first time we met? It was at a New Year's party in college. There were a lot of people that night, but I noticed you at first glance. You were wearing a yellow dress, standing out in the crowd. I asked my roommate to help me get your contact, doing everything I could to get your WeChat. Do you still remember that? Margarita looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. I remember. I continued. Actually, I was the one who started this relationship. I fell in love with you at first sight. That's why. All these years, I cherished you so much, treating you like a princess, afraid you might get hurt in any way. But over time, you wore down that sincerity of mine little by little, until it was gone, like being buried under heavy snow, with no life left. There's no future for us, Margarita. I watched as the light in her eyes slowly faded. In the end, she asked unwillingly, really, there's no chance anymore? Margarita, you're just having a hard time accepting it right now. Once you understand, you'll move on. That night, after we finished talking, she went upstairs. I called another taxi and went back home. The little yellow dog jumped excitedly onto me, as if welcoming me back. Half a year later, I heard from a friend that Margarita, because of her outstanding abilities, had been sent abroad by her company for a year-long program. I was genuinely happy for her. Just like me, she had moved on from this relationship. I successfully earned a promotion and a raise. Back in my hometown, I renovated my parents' old house, giving them a better life. One afternoon, I sat in the living room reading, enjoying the peaceful warmth of the sunlight. The cat was playing with a ball, and the dog was rolling around happily in its bed. I thought, perhaps everything in the future would be just this kind of quiet happiness.